Here's a message from today's episode's sponsor.
Have you heard about Prescriptive Health? Prescriptive is a healthcare technology company rewriting the script for the U.S. prescription market. This is a first in pharmacy. The Prescriptive platform enables pharmacies to connect with their patients in a more equitable and transparent ecosystem, which will foster fair pricing, better access to medication, increased adherence, and, most importantly, better patient engagement. The Prescriptive team believes in empowering healthcare consumers with easy-to-use tech to fundamentally change how prescriptions reach and impact the lives of people throughout our nation. Join Prescriptive Health in rewriting the script. Learn more at prescriptive.com.
You're listening to the Pharmacy Podcast Network.
This is Pharmacy Crossroads with your host, community pharmacy business veteran, the road trip guy, Bruce Nealand. Community pharmacy is at a crossroads. Pharmacy owners across the country are evolving their pharmacy businesses and making a bigger impact on their communities. Bruce talks with the most innovative community pharmacy owners, pharmacy industry experts, and people who are passionate about the business of pharmacy and its impact on community healthcare. Pharmacy Crossroads is a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. And now, here's our host, Bruce Nealand.
Well, hello again, everyone. This is Bruce Nealand, and I get to be the host of today's Pharmacy Crossroads podcast. It's a pleasure today to have another exciting episode. I'm really interested in our guest this morning. I had a chance to meet her about 10 years ago when she was just opening up a brand new pharmacy in a cute little shopping center in Springfield, Pennsylvania, which is a greater Philadelphia area suburb, a high concentration of people of all types, backgrounds. And over the past 10, 11 years, she's just moved forward in a remarkable fashion. We're going to meet her in a moment. Her name is Chichi Momah. She owns Springfield Pharmacy. But just as important for me, I have as my co-host today my daughter, Robin Amberg. And Robin was with me on that day that we dropped in to meet Chichi, and we've just become lifelong friends with her. And Robin is with Transaction Data Systems and helps pharmacists figure out how to manage their data, take further advantage of their data, and manage and market their pharmacies more effectively. And so, Robin, I'm going to say, first of all, say hello, and then ask you to kind of guide this interview with Chichi. You've gotten closer to her over the years than I have. So, Robin Amberg, you're on.
Thanks, Dad. And again, thank you so much, Chichi. This is probably one of the best parts about doing these podcasts is the opportunity to get to talk to people that you respect and admire and, more importantly, even enjoy. And Chichi is absolutely one of those people. So thank you. So like you said, Dad, I think what's really fun is there aren't a lot of examples in my career yet where I have had the chance to kind of walk alongside or admire from close up a pharmacist kind of from start to where they are today. Chichi, I think if you may remember, when we came in and first started talking, how long had you actually owned your pharmacy, or how long have you owned your pharmacy, I guess, today?
So my pharmacy is 11 years old, and I opened up in 2012. And you and your dad walked into my pharmacy summer of 2013. And I remember that because I went back to my emails to search your names to see how far back, and it was 2013, summer of 2013.
Yes. Well, thank you. That's fun. And it sounds like your email is like mine with all of the history behind it. And yeah, so it's been a long time. And like you said, you guys were only about a year, if that old. So, and over that time period, tell us a little bit about why you wanted to own a pharmacy. And for those that are, exploring owning pharmacies, or how, what was your learning curve? What were some of your struggles? And what do you think were some of the biggest turning points in your ability to move forward and be a successful pharmacy owner today?
That's a loaded question, Robin. It's a very loaded question. But just to summarize what's going on in my head, I never thought I would be where I am today. I thought I'll probably end up in the pharmaceutical industries, which is where I started after graduation, but I just felt very limited. I found myself like moonlighting after work to work in community pharmacies, and I just enjoyed it. It brought me so much joy. It brought me fulfillment. And I was like, you know what? This is exactly what I want to do. But we didn't learn how to run a business in pharmacy school. My dad is an entrepreneur, so I know about business, but running a healthcare business like this is completely different. So I did work for an independent pharmacy. I call myself an apprentice for the owner because he knew I wanted to learn everything. So I served him and learned while serving him. That's the way I look at it. And that's how I started. And I served him for 3 years, 3.5 years before I opened up mine. And I still didn't know everything when I opened up mine, especially the financial side of things. I was passionate about healthcare, passionate about patient care, passionate about helping patients, like meeting them where they are. But balancing the financial statements and understanding P&Ls was not what I signed up for, but I had to learn it very quickly.
I'm gonna jump in here and just comment, because very early on you said you were your dad was in the healthcare business, and you've talked about yourself as being in the healthcare business. And I love that, because that's kind of what I'm preaching to pharmacy owners now, is they need to step up above from being a pharmacist and be a healthcare provider. And you talked for 2 minutes there and never used the word pharmacy once. So you've certainly grasped something from the very beginning about the role of a pharmacist in the community as a healthcare provider. And I'm just impressed by that and wanted to jump in and say that. So back to you and Robin.
Yeah. And it's a testament to, obviously, I think one of the reasons why you've been able to persevere. I know that there were some challenges in the beginning, as you talked about learning the financials of a business. And I think maybe even eye-opening at how hard running a pharmacy for profitability can be. What do you think, going back to a loaded question, is there one or two things that you could say were the tipping point for your pharmacy to be able to stay open and thriving? Or is there something that you would offer as an advice to a pharmacy owner today to say, hey, this is what I did that allowed me to persevere through the tough challenges of finances?
I remember, I think it was probably year 4 or 5, and I was on the phone with you for something, and I was telling you, Robin, I'm going to quit. I'm going to sell this pharmacy. I can't do this. It's too much. But then the next second, I'm like, I can't quit. I'm not a quitter, So those mixed emotions, but I say investing in myself, like education-wise and knowledge-wise, learning. I spent a lot of money learning how to do things, right? I spent a lot of money on leadership courses. I spent a lot of money on understanding cash flow 101. I spend a lot of money just investing in myself, because I can sit around and complain every day that I don't know how to lead this team, or my team is horrible. But am I actually a good leader? I'm a visionary, so I have these big dreams, but actually figuring out how to make those dreams come true is always the most challenging part. So relationships, going to conferences, friendships from other pharmacy owners, not just only in my state, but across the country, listening to people's stories, figuring out how to apply it in my life and in my situation. trying to figure out how to make something better than the next person, right? Building upon what I already know, and actually surrounding myself with smarter. I'm a visionary, but I'm a horrible implementer when you compare both of them, right? So trying to figure out who can help me implement this, because I can dream big.
Right. Well, I love that. I think it's again evident in why you are where you are and have been recognized for what you've achieved, because you can hear the passion around what you do and why you do it very loudly. And I think it's a perfect example of how it leads into, what we're really excited is to celebrate your recognition and awards in the industry for what you've done around immunizations as well. Visionary, I think, is a perfect way to explain it. So tell us a little about what you've got or how you got into immunizations, and what were you doing pre-COVID? And then how did that change for you? COVID hit.
So pre-COVID, offer, flu shots, annual flu shots, and just little things, the shingles vaccines, pneumonia vaccines, those things that maybe CMS will also pay for. But I remember when the Shingrix vaccine was on back order, some sort. I don't even remember what year that was, but even the chains didn't have it. And I remember having to call the manufacturer to get a direct account, because even my wholesalers couldn't get it. And I got approved and I could order it directly from the manufacturer. And all of a sudden I became that has Shingrix and all the way from Delaware, New Jersey, Montgomery County, so I realized, how can I get more people this? I created something and I started faxing doctors' offices. That's how far back that was, right? There was no blast then, unless I had to buy an email list. But that's how people were I was getting referrals, and we're doing a lot of shit. And that was it. And then all of a sudden that died down, but we continued our normal annual influenza, pneumonia, and that's how it started. And then fast forward to when COVID happened. Some of those physicians' offices knew that we had Shingrix also when there was a shortage. They started reaching out to us. Do you have access to the COVID vaccine? And back then we were only at a time.
Right.
But the list was going. We had hundreds and thousands of names on our waiting list. It was impossible to even, the phones were ringing off the hook. And I knew we had to do something quickly.
So let me ask one question as a follow-up. So the Shingrix, your interest in obviously working hard. I mean, you took an initiative a lot of pharmacists didn't take, of saying, I can't get it, I'm going to figure out how to get it. Was that because of patient care? Was that because you knew it was a side of your business? I mean, what was kind of your motive to say, nobody's going to tell me I can't do something?
It was more, well, I say all of the above, but what actually triggered it is patient care, right? Seeing that there a need, and parents raised me that I cannot say, there's nothing we can do. No, solution minded. There's always something you can do about it. I can hear my dad saying it in my head. There's always a solution. The front door, try the window, I love it. Yeah. So I think it started with patient care. And then when I went after it and found it, and I realized, I'm making money from this. I can scale it up, right?
Yeah.
And that's when I started being more proactive and sending out the information to providers or senior centers. Hey, you might not be able to find this, but even reaching out to the chains in case, you can send your customers here for their Shingrix vaccine. So it started off with patient care, and I quickly realized I can make money from this. So I scaled up.
Yeah. And then you built obviously a reputation, right? And I love that. I'm going to say it was not only reputation, but, the collaboration of working with your local providers in your community who knew you had done that. You were positioned, built on preparation, right? Not luck. I mean, you had already prepared yourself in your community to be somebody who was doing things that other people could. Set yourself up for success. Came into COVID. So Pennsylvania, I know a little bit, was actually harder states when it came to managing and accessing COVID vaccines. And I know you have a good story around how you had this huge list, right, of patients who were wanting it. You had very limited access. Tell a little bit about what our hero. And I say that not jokingly, because if anybody wants to go on YouTube, I think you'll actually see Chichi in a superhero costume going and giving COVID vaccines. So tell us a little bit the story about that. Make sure this happens.
Patient care, there was a need in my community. We did not have a health department at that time. County did not have a health department. Can you imagine how frustrating and crazy it was? You don't even have a health department to ask for information or resources on what these patients that are in, right? So I wanted to get 100 doses a week, and I couldn't, because they see you as what is looking for more than 100 doses for. So I had to quickly figure out, let me use my resources. Making phone calls. Let me call my friends that I know that are in a little bit of higher places. Can they make a little bit more noise for me? I turn to the media, to say, this is the problem. This is what I want to do. Can somebody please tell the Department of Health to give me more vaccines? So that's how we just created more buzz. And before you know it, they started giving me 1,200 doses of Pfizer. And then at that time, I'm like, I can't fit 1,200 people in my pharmacy. It's very tiny. So I reached out to, because the lines were crazy. I reached out to a school in our area, a school district, and the superintendent, he took a risk on me because he doesn't know anybody in this. He's going to open up his school, and I'm going to run a clinic. He doesn't know me. What if somebody dies? Like, who's responsible? But he saw a need and he wanted to help, and he knew I want to help, and that's the beauty of it. People with the same values, the same mindset coming together, create magic.
Which you did, right? So are there any quick stories or you think that came from that experience, or some of the fun things that you did with your staff that made what was such a trying time for pharmacies, right? I mean, you guys, community pharmacies really became a frontline responder to the COVID need in communities. You're dealing with thousands of people that through. How did you keep your staff motivated? What were some of the things that you did that made it fun?
There's an African proverb I always share with my team. I said, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. I said, I cannot do anything without you guys. Like, I need your support. I need your help. You might not be at the clinic with me, but I want to make sure that the pharmacy still runs while I'm out there doing all this crazy stuff, and my team is like, we got you. Right. And that is so reassuring, knowing that you can be out there and you have your team got your back. We made a lot of mistakes. We didn't know how to bill. We didn't know how to document certain things in the beginning, but we were learning as quickly as possible. It's like learning on the job. You run a clinic of 1,200 day one, 4 days later, come back again and do it, another 1,200, and then another 4 days later. And it just was nonstop. And then I realized, wait a minute, the kind of patients coming to this clinic are not very diverse. We live in a very diverse, we live in a very diverse community, but it's only one-sided. So how do I now reach the underserved population? Because I'm happy we're able to serve, but I would just feel like a lot of people are being left out. So that's what made me flip it a little bit. And okay, I'm going to do this, but I want to help everyone.
So what'd you do?
I reached out to local leaders that I'm not a politician, I started calling senators, House of Rep, all these people. Like, I need to help your constituents. So how do you get me in front of them? I can't say I'm having a clinic at a school. There's some people that can't even drive. There's some people that don't even understand why they need to get a vaccine. There's some people that don't even understand that we're in a pandemic, right? So how can I get closer to that underserved population? And that's how it started. I started going into these neighborhoods and these other places. I go to churches, places of worship. I did a clinic with a senator one time where a lot of undocumented people showed up, and they were afraid to even come because they thought ICE was going to be there.
Right.
So we had to issue a statement saying, no, they're not going to come. Just come as you are, and I have people that I don't speak Spanish. And like 90% of the people there were Spanish speaking, and they couldn't speak English. So thank God the senator was able to bring interpreters. Every day was an adventure because I didn't know what I was walking into. But I was like, God, please, you're going to help us. You're going to give us what we need for today. And that's how it was every single time. So during the whole COVID vaccine, journey, when the 5 to 11 age group was approved, I was approached by the intermediate unit, the school system in my county, to do the vaccine for all the school districts. That's a lot. And that's the power of volunteers. So I put out there, can you come and help? You don't have to be an immunizer. You don't have to be healthcare professional. If all you do is data entry, I need help. And a lot of people came back from the previous clinics, and even more people. And we have a ton of volunteers. And we went into the schools. But then we went into this one school that is underserved population, which pulls the strings of my heart all the time. And the nurse was like, hey, Chichi, I know you're giving COVID shots here, but do you think you can come back and do a clinic for meningitis and Tdap for some of our students? Because these are the vaccines that is required for school. Mm-hmm. And because of COVID, there's been a gap where people are not able to go to their pediatrician. You know how there was a gap in primary care during COVID, and these kids might not be able to come back to school in September if they don't get it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to look into it. I'm sure it's not a problem. And then I went back to the pharmacy. I realized meningitis vaccine is not cheap. So she's talking.
It's not what? I didn't catch that word.
It's not cheap.
Okay.
And there are 300 and something children that are in need. And I Googled, and there's something called Vaccine for Children. I didn't even know that. I was like, oh, that's for people that don't have insurance, or people on Medicaid, people that don't have commercial insurance that will pay for it. So I said, oh, I'll apply. So I applied. I didn't hear anything for 3 months. And the nurse called me back, persistent. It's almost like, Chichi, we see all these things that you're doing. Please help us. So I reached out to the Department of Health, and they said, oh, yeah, we got your application 3 months ago, but no pharmacy in Pennsylvania is a VFC provider, so you're not going to get it. And besides, you're number 1,000 and something on the list. So I called a friend of mine that is part of the PPCN network here in Pennsylvania. I said, do you know anybody in the Department of Health? I need to talk to somebody to tell them that there is a need. So she got me an email address, and I emailed and said, there is a need in this school district. They have 300 and something kids that need meningitis and Tdap. I need you to come and give them the vaccine, or you empower me to do it. Either way, I need an answer to tell them what to do, And so I put them in a spot where there's nothing they could do And he called me and said, we're going to give you a provisional status, provider status. So they turned me on, and I went in and we took care of all those kids. But now, not only just those kids, more kids, right? And before you know it, it went from meningitis, Tdap, MMR, polio, varicella, and it was hard. I had to buy new refrigerators, a different workflow. It was very tough on my team. We lost money because not everybody qualified for VFC. Some people had to get the commercial vaccine, but it was a learning process and very fulfilling, and opened it up more to other school districts. And now the Department of Health, every year you have to reapply. And I reapplied last year. They said yes again, and I'm reapplying again this year. And all of a sudden, I'm the only vaccine for children providing pharmacy in the state of Pennsylvania.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So I have two kind of final questions that I think this leads up to, which is, you've had success in this. You're obviously a pioneer and a leader. How has all of this impacted your pharmacy as a business today?
It definitely put us on the map.
Yeah.
Right. And also make people think that we can do everything, which we can't. It really has, my vision and goal for Springfield Pharmacy back in the day is to be a light in the community and to bridge the gap in healthcare disparities in our community. And it feels good to say that we are a light in our community. We're a trusted voice in our community. And I am very grateful for that. I'm very grateful for my team. I'm very grateful for the people that rolled up their sleeves to help me, to educate me, to just walk along this journey, whether they got paid or not. And right now, there's so many innovative stuff, because you can't quiet my brain, that I want to do, but there's not enough time. There's not enough resources, because I need money to make money, you know?
Right.
But we're in a different season. We're like, what, a preteen? You know, my daughter said 11 years old is preteen, and preteen comes with its own challenges with all the hormones and everything. And the pharmacy, it's raging right now.
I'm laughing as I have a 14-year-old who's now full teen. So just get prepared. But yeah. So have you felt like your business has grown because of this? I mean, are you making vaccines a profitable part? Have you gotten new patients because of this? And you're on the map, you're a light, but from a practical business side, has all of this been a positive?
That's a good question, because my husband is like, remember, this is not a nonprofit organization. You're in this to make money, because of how much I love to help people. Yes, vaccine beyond COVID, right? When you do vaccine well, it could be profitable. And yes, it is. Right now, we're just trying to figure out the best way to scale it up without having to lose our shirt, you know, doing it. A lot of people are coming to us for travel health. So we're looking into creating that travel health service around vaccine, because no matter what I do, the rest of the community is seeing us as the vaccine hub.
Right.
Whether I put it on my website or I list it as a service, we're already known as a vaccine hub. So how do we capitalize on that and ride with it?
Yep, exactly. And then the last thought is, beyond this, and besides this, you've mentioned through your visions and dreams that there's all kinds of other things that you're wanting to do. What do you see as kind of your next journey or next thing that you want to do for your business success over the next 12, 24, 36 months?
I like to surround myself with smart people, because they challenge me and they sharpen me. So I want to create more like, not a residency because I'm not accredited, but like a fellowship or a place where people can come and learn, because that's how I learned.
Yeah, your apprenticeship.
Yes, apprenticeship, because I dabbled into, I did residency for 2 years through an accredited body at some point, and it really helped me grow. Like, I saw the growth, and I want to invest in that, bringing in people that are hungry, passionate, excited about making magic and helping me grow and just move through this preteen to teenage, right? But for me to make that leap, to make that jump, I can't do it alone. So I'm trying to create a space. It's like create the kitchen and bring people in to cook what they want to cook, right? So that's what I'm working on in the next 12 to 24 months, to bring in those smart kids, I call them, to bring them in so that we can create something, and also create a platform for them to learn and grow so that they can do what I did, but do it better than me.
Well, first of all, I'm excited, one, to circle back in 12, 24 months, Dad, and see what has come from this vision, where Chichi is going forward. I will say that it is exciting to talk to a pharmacy that is, versus where you were at year 4 in your business of, I don't know how I'm going to do this, I think I have to quit, to where you see full viability, growth, and a future in what you're doing. And I love that because it is a tough time for community pharmacy, but it is people like you that make community pharmacy better and are going to be the ones that survive it. So just for me, thank you. It's a treasure and a pleasure to know you. And I'm excited to see what you continue to do as a leader. So thank you. Dad, what are your thoughts? Any other thing you want to ask? Or
I don't have anything I want to ask. I just kind of want to do a recap, because there's 2 or 3 takeaways that I got. First of all, the way to end this is, don't just complain. There's always something you can do about it. And, and you've documented 5 or 6 different ways that you've approached that. I love how you said in the beginning, I can't quit. I'm going to find a way. You invested in training that had nothing to do with the pharmacy. You went and got leadership training. You certainly figured out how to read P&L statements and to manage from them. And then what I really love is, when things were going wrong, it wasn't your team's fault. You needed to figure out how to manage the team. And so you took these leadership courses. I am inspired beyond belief by the dedication that you've brought to your profession and the way you've served your community. And on behalf of all those who listen to this podcast, I want to say thank you for your inspirational comments. You're a force to be reckoned with, and we're glad to be able to call you friends. And Robin and I count it an honor that we saw you in the beginning, and look forward to seeing you again sometime in the near future. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and neighbors, that's going to bring us to a close for this episode of Pharmacy Crossroads. Thank you for listening. And as always, my motivation, my slogan is, we're hoping that something you heard here today will help you do more and be better. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Pharmacy Crossroads. If you're interested in talking with Bruce, please contact the show. Visit pharmacycrossroads.com. We look forward to hearing from you.